Alrighty. I'm so glad you guys are here with us today. So we're going to start, because y'all are chatty today, we're going to start with something a little different. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to close our eyes, and we're just going to take a deep breath, okay? And we're going to be quiet. Don't hold the breath the whole time. Just take one deep breath and then breathe normal. We're just going to take a few moments to just be quiet together, okay? It's going to be relaxing and praying and focusing. Okay, God, help me focus on you, okay? So we're not trying to be distracting to other people. If you don't care what I have to say, that's fine. It doesn't offend me, but people next to you might. So here's the deal. We're not going to be distractions to people around us, okay? That's really important. So let's do this together. Close your eyes. We're going to take a deep breath, and we're just going to breathe in and out softly until I say, okay, ready? Deep breath. 3, 2, 1. Keep your eyes closed. Relax. Another deep breath in. Let it go. All right. Look up here. See, here's why we do stuff like that. Because it is so easy to come into a room like this that's full of people you know, full of people you like, and to just be a distraction because it's fun or it's funny. And because it gets you attention. Or maybe you're just not even realizing what you're doing. You're just like, it's all about me. I'm focused on me. You don't realize it, and you are becoming a distraction to the people around you that might be here because they want to worship. They want to learn about God. And we're not going to be a room that's okay in, all right? We are fun. We are weird in this room. We do not take ourselves seriously, but when it comes to talking about God and singing and praising Him, we're going to take that really seriously. And so we need to remember that, and when we come into teaching and worship time, we need to kind of go, okay, shake off all that stuff that's me focused, and I'm just going to let that go and focus on what we're here to talk about, okay? So if you have your Bibles, we're going to be in Judges chapter 14 today. Judges chapter 14. Now, it's been a couple weeks since I've been with you guys, so I'm glad that you have amazing leaders that we're able to continue to teach and be there with you all. But I've missed some of what was taught. And so I'm excited to be back and talking about Samson. And his story takes a bit of time. Don't look on that side because it's cut off. But we're over here. I won't go too far, so I'm still in the picture. We're over there. And notice. Do you see where it says 3-16? You see that? Everyone see that? Yeah? Chapters 3 through 16. The Judges, part of Judges. And notice at the start, it disappears, right? That's amazing. And back. All right. See, it did that with my mind, right? All right. Notice at the start, it says pretty good. And then it says okay. And then it says bad. And then it says worse. These judges continue to move further and further away and continue to do worse things. And as we talk about Samson's life, how many of you have heard of the story of Samson, have heard about Samson and Delilah? Good amount of you, right? We're working through that portion of his life, but we're not to the Samson and Delilah part yet. We're to more of the start. And we're going to see in the next couple weeks how his life transforms from being Samson to being like Samson the judge and to eventually leading to his own demise, okay? So, I'm going to read the entire chapter. There's 20 verses, okay? Don't fall asleep on me, okay? We're not going to be here forever today. We're going to read the entire chapter because there's a lot in it, but we're just going to take some big chunks and talk about those. Sound good? But I want you to listen and look how Samson is acting. And see if you notice or can kind of think of, what do you think Samson is doing? Where is his heart at, and why is he acting this way? What is he trying to convey to the people? Okay? So as I read through that, look for that, okay? Verse 1. Judges 14, verse 1. Samson went down to Timnah, and at Timnah he saw one of the daughters of the Philistines. Then he came up and told his father and mother, I saw one of the daughters of the Philistines at Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife. But his father and mother said to him, Is there not a woman among the daughters of your relatives or among all your people that you must go to take a wife from the uncircumcised Philistines? But Samson said to his father, Get her for me, for she is right in my eyes. His father and mother did not know that it was from the Lord, for he was seeking an opportunity against the Philistines. At that time, the Philistines ruled over Israel. Then Samson went down with his father and mother to Timnah, and they came to the vineyards of Timnah. There's a lot of Timnah in this. And behold, this is awesome. Check this part, okay, ready? Verse 5, the middle of it. And behold, a young lion came towards him, roaring. Then the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him, and though he had nothing in his hands, he tore the lion in pieces as one tears a young goat. What? But he did not tell his father or his mother what he had done. Then he went down and talked with a woman, and she was right in Samson's eyes. After some days he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. And behold, there was a swarm of bees in the body of the lion, and honey. He scraped it out into his hand, gross, right? And went on eating as he went. And he came to his father and mother, and he gave some to them. And they ate, but he did not tell them that he had scraped the honey from the carcass of the lion. His father went down to the woman, and Samson prepared a feast, therefore, so the young men used to do. As soon as the people saw him, they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said to them, Let me now put a riddle to you. How many people like riddles? Riddle people? All right. See if you can figure this one out. Oh, that's where I'm at. Verse 12. And Samson said to them, Let me now put a riddle to you. If you can tell me what it is within the 7 days of the feast and find it out, then I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothes. But if you cannot tell me what it is, then you shall give me 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothes. And they said to him, Put your riddle, that we may hear it. And he said to them, Out of the eater comes something to eat. Out of the strong comes something sweet. And in 3 days they cannot solve the riddle. All right, this is where, how many people in here are my competitive people? All right, okay, you're really nice and calm, and then a board game happens and you turn real mean, right? So imagine that, okay? Riddle. We're talking about how these other people that have received the riddle, how they're going to act, okay? Verse 15. And on the 4th day, they said to Samson's wife, Your husband to tell us what the riddle is, lest we burn you and your father's house with fire. That's a bit extreme, right? We're going to burn you and your father's house. Have you invited us here to impoverish us? And Samson's wife wept over him and said, You only hate me. You do not love me. You have put a riddle to my people, and you have not told me what it is. And he said to her, Behold, I have not told my father nor my mother, and shall I tell you? She wept before him the 7 days that their feast lasted. On the 7th day he told her, because she pressed him hard. Then she told the riddle to her people. And the men of the city said to him on the 7th day, before the sun went down, What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion? And he said to them, If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have found out my riddle. And the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon and struck down 30 men of the town and took their spoil and gave the garments to those who had told the riddle. In hot anger, he went back to his father's house. And Samson's wife was given to his companion, who had been his best man. All right, check this out. There's a lot there. We're going to break this up in a couple chunks. Verses 1 through 9, verses 10 through 18, and then 19 and 20. So verses 1 through 9. Samson chooses a wife, right? We see in and then he came to his father, verse 2. Then he came to his father and mother. I saw one of the daughters of the Philistines at Timnah. Okay, stop there. Now, I know a lot of you in this room are not married. Most of you are not, right? Most of you youth kids are not married. Now, check this out. In verse 2 and 3, this is how Samson talks first to his parents. Okay, we're not even going to acknowledge how he's speaking of the woman. Just look how he talks to his parents, okay? Verse 2. Then he came up and he told his father and mother, I saw one of the daughters of the Philistines at Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife. Okay. How many people have like big, strong dads or father figures in their life? Yeah? Like big, strong. I mean like you would not want to fight them, right? Okay? Because they'd be like, whap, whap, right? So I am 24 years old at this point, right? My dad is getting old. A little rounded in the belly, right? I can outrun him. I know that. But there was still not an ounce of me that's going to go to my dad and be like, Dad, get that for me, right? If I did that, it was joking, and then I'm like in defense mode, right? Like, don't hit me, right? Like, here's the deal. This is Samson's pride speaking like, I want that, give it to me. Whatever it is, this is his pride, right? I said, think about how is he talking to the people? What is his attitude through this? Here is this pride of, I want her, Dad, go get her. There was no discussion, hey, I really like her as my wife. Can we figure this out as a family? No, go get her. That's just pride seeping out, right? And we have to remember this is a different culture, and there's things that go along with how husbands and wives became husbands and wives, and dowries and money exchanges, all this different type of stuff, right? But listen, there was so much pride, just, I want her. And his mom and dad are like, are you sure her? Because she's a Philistine. And now it wasn't wrong, it wasn't sinful for him to be with the Philistines, but it was a weak choice. It wasn't the best choice for him or for his people. But, verse 4. Wait, excuse me? End of verse 3. But Samson said to his father, get her for me. Why? For she is right in my eyes. We have seen this over and over and over again in Judges. People did what was right in their own eyes. And when we do what is right in our own eyes, we will suffer for it. Because if we treat life and morals like they can just change however we want, we then become God. If you think that you don't have to follow rules because of who you are, and you're just going to do what's right in your eyes, you think you're better than the rules? You think you're better than who created the rules? This then comes back to, that can just be in everyday life. How many of you drive? There's very few of you that are driving at this point, right? Okay, some of you drive. Pastor Ray talked about this in first service, about driving, getting angry at other drivers. How many of you that drive have in your lifetime, leaders, be honest, have broken the speed limit? All right. That's everyone that's ever driven. All right? Listen. Focus. Now, here's what's hilarious about that. If I were to tell anyone that's ever driven in Arizona, ever, I was like, hey, I know some of you don't drive, but listen, you're going to get this, because if you've ever been with anyone that's driven ever in your life, you're going to understand this. If you go ask them about this, they're going to be honest with you. If you ever have driven and someone is only going the speed limit on the freeway, everyone behind them is angry, right? Like, oh my gosh, he is only going the speed limit. How many of you have heard your parents say that? Be like, speed up, oh my gosh. Or like someone driving, right? If you've ever driven with me, you've probably heard me say that, right? Like, get out of the way. See, but the reason we're like that is because we have created an entire culture, an entire society where the limit is not the limit. Because here's what most people, if you talk to most people that drive, they're going to be like, oh, you can go over the limit. As long as you stay under 10 over, you're fine. They won't pull you over. See, we have bent the rule. And I've even heard people, I don't want to like diminish or demean any of you like under 20-year-olds. They're like, they can't pull you over for that. Here's the deal. A police officer can pull you over for going one over. It's the law. It's the limit. That doesn't mean they will, but they can. But here's what we do. Well, everyone else is driving that fast. It doesn't change the law. It doesn't change the rule. But we do that. And see, that's what the people of Israel are doing. Oh, well, it's right in my eyes. He agrees it's right in his eyes. Let's just do it. We do what we want. And we saw in the picture, we see this cycle keeps getting worse. When we do what's right in our own eyes, things are going to continue to get worse. Because you're not that smart. Right? Like, you are not smarter than all of us working together. Creating laws as a group. How should we live? And we're not smarter than what God has called us to and how he tells us we should live. When we're sinning, when we're going, I'm not going to do that. We are looking God in the face saying, I am better than your laws. I'm better than your rules. And that's what Samson at times is going to do throughout his life. And like I said, in this picking, he doesn't necessarily just directly go against God, but he chooses someone that probably isn't the best option. All right? Because he was doing what was right in his eyes. But check out verse 4, and this is what's so cool about it. His father and mother, right? They didn't know that it was from the Lord. Right? God is going to use this. Even if Samson doesn't know, even if no one else knows, God is able to use, even when we do when we make awful choices and we do things that we shouldn't do, God is able to use those things for his good. And that's amazing. Now, that doesn't give us license to be like, I'll do whatever I want. God can use it. No, you still are called to live according to what he has called you to. But God can use it anyways. And that's what's cool. That's what's amazing about the Christian life. That's what's so great about the gospel is that God is amazing and he's able to use things that are even bad for us. Now check out verse 6. Actually, check out verse 5. I lied. Verse 5. Then he went down with his father and mother, and they came to the vineyard. And behold, a young lion came towards him roaring. Now, I've always said, if I have my choice in the way to die, I want to get eaten by a lion. Because it's awesome, right? What a cool story, right? Yeah, that guy, he got eaten by a lion. Okay? I think that's cool. Here is Samson. Like, a lion is running at him. How many people have seen a lion? Not on TV. Like, actually seen a lion, stood next to a lion? Yeah, they are crazy. You ever actually heard one like roar? Terrifying. I've been at the zoo before, and we were nowhere near the lion cage, and we heard it, and I was like, I'm leaving because I think he just escaped. Right? Somebody made him mad. Right? They are powerful. And here we have Samson, verse 6. And the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him. Notice, this isn't Samson in his own strength. The Spirit of the Lord, this is showing God's power. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him, rushed upon him, and Samson, with nothing in his hands, tore the lion in pieces. He fought a lion, and he tore it to pieces. Because the power of God, not himself, the power of God was behind him, was with him. See, God and the power that he gives to us through his Spirit when we are his people is so powerful. And we just minimize that when we try and live on our own because we're like, oh, I've got really strong willpower. Well, it's not going to last. It's going to eventually fade. What is going on back there today, guys? We are all sorts of a mess. All right, refocus. This video is going to be amazing. This one's going viral. All right, refocus. We got to close this soon. Focus back. Okay, so we see Samson, right? And this stuff is happening, and he's relying on God's strength. But if we're trying to do it by our own willpower, we're going to fail. Oh, Kevin, Paul, everyone say hi, Kevin and Paul. Everyone look at Kevin and Paul. Everyone make sure to give them hugs and squeeze their muscles because we are really sore today. Because yesterday we did a thing called Rugged Maniac. And it was 3.1 miles of running and obstacle courses and a lot of mud and all this stuff. And it was a blast. It was so much fun. But here's the deal. When you do that type of stuff, it is trying on your body. We're sore today, right? And if I were to try and run it by myself without anyone near me, it would not have been as fun. I probably wouldn't have wanted to keep going at times. Because you're just like, man, there's parts where you're running in the desert and there's just other people running in front of you and dust just flying up in your face. You're like, this part is not enjoyable. Like, I'm here for the fun obstacles. I don't want to do the running. See, my willpower would not have gotten me through on my own, but the power of my friends was able to keep me going, right? This community. And when we have community, and then we have the community of God's people, and the Spirit of the Lord is within us, now with His power, we're able to do incredible things. But on our own, you're weak. How many of you think you're strong and would win against Kevin or Paul in an arm wrestling match? Okay, 4 of you, right? You're not physically strong. That's okay. We're not all called to be big, strong, buff people, right? Some of us are going to do other things in our life, and that's a good thing. But regardless of where we are physically or what we are, we have to be strengthened by the Lord. And Samson was a big, strong guy, but his strength came from God. Only from God, not from anything else, which is going to take part later. Verse 10 through 18, we see he gives this riddle. And he's like, hey, I have a riddle for you, right? Check this out. And they are just laboring to try and figure it out. It says 3 days they couldn't figure it out. So then, remember I brought up the competitive people? The people that heard the riddle, the people of the village, go to Samson's wife. Notice she doesn't have a name, right? It's just Samson's wife. They go to her, and they're like, hey, you better figure this out for us. You better be real nice to your husband. You cry, do whatever you have to do to figure out this riddle, because we don't want to have to pay the 30 linen garments and things. Like, we don't want to have to pay, so you better figure it out, or we're going to burn you and your dad's house. Like, they are threatening. They are not trying to really figure out the riddle. They're just doing whatever they can to not have to look dumb or whatever they are thinking and not have to pay the price. Okay? And listen to what she does. Obviously scared. If someone threatens to burn me and my household down, I would be rightfully scared. But I love this. In verse 16, and Samson's wife wept over him and said, you only hate me. You do not love me. Okay, this is like no offense, junior high girls. This is like the classic junior high girl, like over dramatization. Wow, that's hard to say. Over dramatization of things, right? This is like camp. I love junior high camp because when some of y'all lose, you go insane, right? Like high schoolers are like, whatever, I'm cool. I don't care about rec time. And then junior highers are like, we need to win. And you're like, oh my goodness. Like, and they're like, and then you get junior high leaders out there, Christine and Charlie, and they're like, we need to beat the refs. You're like, settle down, right? It's this like dramatic thing. Is like, there's so much competition, and like when they lose, it goes like, the refs hate me. Like, no, chill out, y'all. It's okay. It's rec time. Nobody wins, right? Nobody wins. You get about 12 seconds of glory when they're like, the red team, right? And everyone already knew the red team was going to win, right? It's not a big deal. But see, we get so focused in like, oh man, I got to protect me. I got to do what I want, what's right in my eyes. So she is weeping. She is being like everything she can to try and get the riddle out. But notice, this is her husband. They're supposed to be a team now. And yet she's competing and doing all this stuff to help the other people because she's scared of what they're coming at her. Right? So there's all these things that are not working the way they are supposed to. A husband and wife are supposed to work together in life and come against those things that come against them. And here she is being threatened, and instead of going to her husband, she's doing what the people that are threatening to do. She's like, oh man, I need to figure this out. So she's now trying to deceive and manipulate her husband. And there's all sorts of issues happening here. Right? And so eventually, she's crying for 7 days. Any of you cried for 7 days straight before? There's about 2 of you that I know have, right? Some of you I know, right? But this is like crazy. How many of you have been in a situation with someone where someone else is crying and you don't know how to act? You are uncomfortable with the crying. This is my favorite person. Someone's crying and that you watch like the mental debate of like, right? Like, I don't know what to do with my hands. So I am sorry. Like, high five, right? Like, feel better. We just don't know. We're so uncomfortable with it, right? And so Samson, right, 7 days, finally he's like, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, here's the answer. And she goes running off, tells the people, and they come back like, we figured it out, right? And he's like, I know how you figured it out. Like, you threatened my wife. And so all of these things, all these people are not acting how they're supposed to. They're just doing whatever they can to make them look good, to make them feel good. And notice, at the end, excuse me, at the end of the chapter, verses 19 and 20. Verse 19, the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him, right? Spirit of the Lord, again, we see the Spirit of the Lord rushing upon Samson. And he goes out because now he's lost the riddle, right? He's lost the competition. They came back with the answer before the 7 days. They told him the answer to the riddle. So now he owes these garments and such. He owes 30 of them. So he goes out. The Spirit of the Lord rushes upon him. He goes out to a people. He strikes down 30 men. Okay, stop. He doesn't go into his own closet and get 30 garments. He doesn't go pay for 30 garments. He goes and kills 30 men and takes the clothes off of them. Right? And then he takes it back, so he took their spoil, and he gives the garments to the people that solved the riddle. He goes and kills these 30 people. Right? This is the judge of Israel that we're going to continue to see his life. He's supposed to be the one leading them. And this is how he's acting when he loses. Right? He goes, kills them, and then the end of verse 19, in a hot anger he went back to his father's house. So now he's throwing his hissy fit, right? He doesn't go back to his house. He goes back, or the house that he's supposed to be building with him and his wife, he goes back to his father's house in anger. And then at the end, and Samson's wife was given to his companion who had been his best man. See, now, this was also not a good move. The father of the wife then goes, oh, well, Samson left. And instead of doing the right thing and waiting or figuring out what was going to happen, he just gives his daughter away to another man to be that man's wife. There are all these issues going around, and it all comes back to looking at the situation and going, okay, when we do what is right in our eyes, when we are like Samson or like so many of the other judges, so much of Israel, when we do what's right in our eyes, we will suffer for it. So, as Christians, we do not rely on our own strength and what we believe. We go back to what God has called us to do, rely on God's strength, and we live how he has called us, and we do what's right in his eyes, not our own. Does that make sense? See what I'm saying? If you're like, I'm better than God's rules, you do not understand how small you are. And some of you are taller than me. You are big, tall people. You are still small compared to the creator of the universe. Does that make sense? We do what he has called us to do. He created everything. I think he's pretty smart. He's pretty wise. He knows what he's doing. So we live how he has called us to, not what we think is right in our eyes. And as the story continues to unfold, we've got 2 more weeks of Samson. As it continues to unfold, think about this. How do I do what is right in God's eyes and not my own? Because we're going to watch as Samson continues to do whatever the heck he wants, and we're going to watch it eventually lead to his own destruction. And if we do that, it'll lead to our destruction. So we want to avoid that. So you got to come back for the next 2 weeks to hear the story. God, thank you for today. Thank you that we get to be here. I'm so amazed at how wonderful you are. I pray that you continue to show us how great and magnificent you are, and that we do what is right in your eyes, God. We love you. It's in your name we pray. Amen.